welcome everyone one more time. Super happy to see you all here. My name is Dinara. I'm Education Manager at Retouch for Me. And today we have with us Unmesh Dinda, who everyone came to listen to today, and also Alexei Tsarev, who is a co-founder of Retouch for Me.
So, hi everybody. It's so exciting to see so many people this webinar today. Thank you for interest and for being with us tonight. As Nara said, my name is Alexei Tsarev. I'm a co-founder of Retouch for Me and the head of partnership department. It's a big pleasure for me to introduce our guest and the host of this webinar, Unmesh Dinda, knows him Piximperfect. Everybody knows his YouTube channel, the largest and the most influential channel about retouching and photo editing. Our collaboration with Piximperfect began 4 years ago. Retouch for Me had just only a few plugins these days, and we just had started to sell it. I wrote Unmesh more than 2 or 3 months, asking him to try our plugins. And Unmesh fortunately tried them, liked them, and started to talk about Retouch for Me plugins in his videos. And thereby, these reviews have us a strong promotion and popularity among people all over the world. Thank you so much, Unmesh, for your trust and the great contribution to Retouch for Me. We very appreciate it. And today, Unmesh will share with us 7 exclusive and important hacks every professional must know. Welcome to Piximperfect.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Alexei, for having me. It has been a pleasure working with Retouch for Me. The first time I used the plugins, I was awestruck how awesome it worked. So I had to talk about the plugins, and I love talking about solutions that actually help people, and this genuinely does. Now, today is not all about Retouch for Me. It's all about retouching hacks that I find useful, and these are something that has recently come up. As Photoshop gets better and better, there are new techniques that come up as we continue to experiment. There are new techniques that we discover. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I've compiled a list of 7 hacks that's going to help you absolutely. There can be even more, but this 1 hour allows me to cover 7. So without any further ado, you already know what to say. Let's get started. The first thing that I would like you to do is to always be open to what new is coming and experiment with it in your existing photos. And with that, let me share my screen fairly quickly. You should be able to see my screen right now. So the first recommendation from me to you is to not ignore the brand new remove. In the latest version of Photoshop, there is a new remove function that has come up. And we are not talking about the remove tool. This is something different. Let me share with you an example. And I really hope, fingers crossed, that this works. And the reason I say that is because, let me make this shorter. All right. And the reason I say that is, why? Is because this uses your internet, and most of the times this is super fast. But you know what happens in live settings? When you're showing it to the public, it often gets slower. So earlier, what did we used to do to remove these stray hair? We would usually use something like the spot healing brush tool, right? We would simply create a brand new layer, use something like the spot healing brush tool. I'm going a bit slow because this is not a YouTube video, and we would just remove them one by one, something like this. And it wouldn't be perfect. It's kind of messy, see? And it wouldn't always get stuff right. If we try to remove something like that, this is all really bad, not something that we can actually use. So what did we have to do? We had to do it one by one, very slowly and gradually, and do a lot of trial and errors. We would just do one strand of hair, then do the other strand of hair, then do it here, then use the clone stamp tool. It would make it very complicated. However, with the introduction of the remove tool, this gets easier, but wait for it. There's so much more to it. All right. So first, create a brand new layer by clicking on this button. You can use the remove tool by picking the remove tool from here, and you can remove it one by one. You want to make sure sample all layers is checked. You can turn off generative AI. That's up to you because it just is one single strand of hair. And then you can remove it one by one like so. And the remove tool definitely is better in this case. As you can see, it did a much better job. Similarly here, but still, this is a time-taking process. You're removing these one by one, and even then, this is not perfect. See, it creates a hard edge here and there, and what happens when you try to remove something like this? It will mess up. You would still have to do one by one. So, and that's not a bad solution. For some very hard areas, I might even ask you to do that. I might even recommend you to do that. However, here is what my new recommendation is that you can try. All right. This is just on a trial basis because this is improving as we speak. First of all, again, create a brand new layer. And this time, instead of using just the remove tool, select the lasso tool. Now, once you have the lasso tool selected, select an area that is a bit complicated. So in this case, I think this is the area. Let me quickly reset my workspace. All right. I am sorry. There you go. This is my workspace, and let me just reset that. Here's what you do. You make an entire selection of the problematic area, and then you will see a brand new button called the remove. Now, this remove is different from generative fill. This uses a completely different generative AI technology. Now, while that happens, do keep in mind that it, and I repeat, does not consume credits. So if you have a Photoshop plan and you're connected to the internet, it will not consume credits. It will use the remove generative AI meant for the remove button, and it will do the job. Just click on it, give it a little bit of time, and I don't know how much time this is going to take. So trust me, this usually takes about 8 seconds, but this time there is a lot more traffic, and I'm also using Zoom. I don't know, for whatever reason, for the last hour or so, this has been taking a lot of time. So I've already done the result. I'm going to share that with you. But while this happens, if you have any questions or anything I see in the chat, just let me know. All right. No, it's not done yet. Let me see. Yes, we are in 2025. It's still processing, unfortunately. Somebody says sound is off. Can you still hear me properly? I hope so. No, I'm not in beta. Everything is good.
While it's loading, we do have a question from YouTube. Somebody's asking, Miko is asking, what is the resolution of this AI tool?
All right, it's
Is it a
done.
fragment?
It's done. So the resolution is not clear from Adobe, but my estimate is it would somewhere be around 1024 by 1024 at the moment, but it's not yet very clear from Adobe. But we are selecting a very small area. So if I were to show you what this area is like 300 by 300 pixels. So it should be fine. So similarly, let's say we select a very difficult area like that. Now, do keep in mind again, it takes a very short amount of time, but for right now, because of internet and traffic and everything that is happening, it's taking a while. But this is a superbly easy way to remove all kinds of stray hair, to remove anything you want. Just, there you go, it worked fast. It's just so good. Oh my gosh. Similarly, you can do superbly complicated areas like these as well. It just goes in pretty quick. So let's try this big area, and I'm hoping that it works. And even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't get some areas right, you can even redo it in the areas that it doesn't get it right. For a little area that, let's say, it just messed something up, you can just fix that. Do we have any questions while it is loading? Let me see the chat.
So Satura is asking, can you use this remove tool to remove the background?
No, this is for removing elements from the image. If you want to remove the background, I would highly recommend using the brand new Select Subject Cloud. So you can go to your Photoshop preferences and you want to make sure cloud is turned on. And actually, you can also do this. Click on the arrow and you can make sure cloud is turned on. I recommend doing it from the preferences, so it's always there by default. And then if you click on Select Subject, it does a pretty amazing job of making a selection of your subject, including the hair. It does work brilliantly. We recently did a video where it selected even the cycle spokes pretty clearly. Look at the selection. This is pretty awesome. And then you can use a mask to remove the background. You can also use this button right here in the contextual taskbar. It just makes the process faster. I'm just going to turn off everything for a moment and click on remove background. It uses the cloud to automatically do that for you, and it does a pretty amazing job. So if I were to create a black background behind it, you will notice that this is pretty good. Just take a look at the hair. Oh my gosh, this is so darn amazing. Now, there are some imperfect areas, but those are very easy to fix. So that's how I would remove the background. Anyway, so that is how I recommend using the remove function in the brand new Photoshop. It just makes things so much easier. Now, let me share with you another example for this. I've already actually finished a few so that in case the internet stuff doesn't work, we have our backup. Now, in this case, let's say if she wanted to post this photo for her LinkedIn profile and wanted to remove all the tattoos. So usually we would use something like the patch tool, right? So we would make a copy of the background layer. With the background layer selected, we would press Ctrl or Command J and use something like this particular tool called the patch tool here. And then we would select an area that we would like to remove and then just drag it to an area of a similar texture of how it would be if there was no tattoo. Drag it and drop it, Control or Command D, and it's done. I would actually place it here. That is more realistic. And it does a pretty amazing job. But what about areas like this? You don't have any place to drag. You can just select an area like this. But where will you drag it? There is literally no space. You would have to do it slowly and gradually, and even then, this is not perfect. The texture doesn't look right. But again, if you have to use the patch tool and there is no area to drag, do it slowly and gradually. All right. However, if you were to use the remove function, you can do multiple at once. And here's the crazy part about remove. I don't know how it will work in the future, but for right now, it works this way. If you have made a selection here, this tattoo, and then you make a selection here in that tattoo, those are separate generations for now. They're not one big generation so that you have to deal with the resolution loss. I don't know why Adobe, and a good reason that Adobe deals with it separately. So I can just add selections to it, hold the shift key in the lasso tool. I can just keep on adding these. Everything that you want to remove, you can remove all of them at once. And maybe why not this one as well? All right. Now, look at this. The texture is very hard to remove. There is a curve there. There is no area to sample. But if we were to use something like the remove function in the brand new version of Photoshop, let us say this takes a little more time, but still, it is worth it. I hope this time it works better. It's just that sometimes it can take a little more time depending on the traffic, depending on the internet, but I hope this is faster. It's harder to fill the gap when this is processing. Meanwhile, let me know if you have any questions. I'll take it.
We do. We have a lot of them. So,
Oh,
uh,
oh my gosh, this is removed. And I sorry,
all right.
it just keeps on happening. So have a
Yeah,
look
no
at the
worries.
texture here. This is just so darn good. This would have been impossible to remove it otherwise. And there is a little slip up there. Not a big deal. You can easily select the remove tool and just paint over that. You can turn off generative fill and just paint over that, and that is fixed. And with just one selection, all of that is gone so darn good. And anywhere, if it does any kind of slip up, you can just paint over those areas. But for all of those tricky areas, this does an incredible job. I think I have a finished example to share with you where, no, not this one. Anyway, so this is a good one to share. And it did mess up a little bit in this area, but anytime you have a stick up, anytime it doesn't work nicely, just use the remove function. Keep your eyes open to the remove. So with that, we finished the first hack. Any questions?
So there is definitely a question regarding the removing the redness on skin with this remove option tool. Does
Mhm.
that work?
You can try, but there are better ways to remove the redness in the skin, and we will discover that in this webinar. Don't worry about that. All right, so let's talk about high-end dodging and burning, and I'm going to share with you the easiest way to do high-end dodging and burning. And let me share with you an example. So let's say you want to remove the eye bags from here. And you can use this technique for whatever. You can do the entire skin with it. You can do just a little area with it. Maybe there's a small unevenness you need to fix. Maybe there's a little darkness here that you need to fix. You can do whatever you want. That is the flexibility of this technique. But before we get into this technique, I need to ask you something. Let us create a brand new document, and this is just a trick question for you. And Don't think of it as a trick question. Let me pick my colors, foreground color, background color, and now let me create a gradient for you. Now I'm going to look over the comments and let me ask you something. Which of these colors are brighter? Is this brighter? Is the top brighter or the bottom brighter? Can you tell me? So I'm looking at the comments right now. Amar tells me it's top. There are people who are telling me who are top. There are people who are telling me it's neither. There's someone who's telling me it's the same. There's someone who's telling me it's the bottom. So the opinions are divided. I wish I could have a poll right now. But either way, the general consensus is that it's kind of confusing. But it doesn't have to be. Let me frame the question a bit differently. Imagine you were a kid, 8-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid, and I asked you the same question. What would you say? Is the top brighter or the bottom brighter? Top, right? Any kid would say that, and that is our perception. So whenever we are doing high-end retouching, we sometimes want to take the color away so that it doesn't distract us. However, our perception here is that the top is brighter and the bottom is darker. But if we take the color away by creating a hue saturation adjustment layer and take down the saturation, it's the same. It's exactly the same. But that is not our perception. Our perception was the top was brighter and the bottom was darker. So an accurate way to take away the colors so that you only see the brightness levels is this. Let's take away hue saturation. We are going to create a solid color adjustment layer instead. And you can pick whatever you want. You can pick white, gray, black, anything that doesn't have any kind of saturation. Hit OK and change the blend mode from normal to color. Watch what happens. Now the top is brighter and the bottom is darker. This is a much better representation. That's what we are going to do as step 1 here. Take the color away so that it doesn't distract us. So click on the adjustment layer icon and then let us create a solid color adjustment layer. And we are going to take gray, white, you can take whatever here, and change the blend mode from normal to color. So this takes the color away. Now you can simply create a new layer just above the background layer. This is the simplest way to retouch. Create a new layer by clicking on this button and then simply take the brush and set the foreground and the background color to black and white. Press D. This stands for default. It sets your foreground and background color to black and white. Now just take a soft round brush and you want to make sure flow is at 1%. You can zoom in at 100%, something like so, and just start painting the eye bags with white. Whatever you want to even out, you can just start painting. It's that easy. So I'm just going to do a real quick job here. Don't judge me on this one. And again, do not forget, I made a mistake. Don't forget to change the blend mode of this layer from normal to soft light. And then you can paint on these areas. And that's how you can do your dodging and burning very, very easily. And for this, I do recommend, now you can do it with a mouse, all right, but I do recommend that you have some kind of a tablet, a graphic tablet for yourself. If you're doing photo editing, illustration, or any work in Photoshop, graphic tablet is a blessing. Please have one. All right. So right now I have done very few area, not even too much, and it begins to show such a huge improvement. And the great part about that is that we are not even changing the skin texture. It's exactly the same. Everything is exactly the same. But we have worked on the eye bags and removed them so nicely. And I'm doing this live in front of you, and it's much harder when you're doing it in front of an audience. And this is like really fast work. Usually I would zoom out, check it a little bit, zoom in, but there you go. Now, fair warning, this can be very addictive for you because you can keep on doing this stuff and you have to know when to stop. Otherwise, you'll just turn your portrait into a wax statue. But either way, here it is after. See how easy that was? Before, after, before, after. All of that gone so nicely and it still looks so darn natural. Have a look at it. Now you can turn off the luminosity check layer. I actually call it the luminosity check layer because it checks that luminosity levels. You can turn it off and there will be a change in color. Here's the before, here's the after, that is gone, but this area is still too red. You can easily fix this by creating another layer and let's just name it color layer, and this one was for dodging and burning. Now in the color layer, all we do is take the brush. You can increase the flow to even 20%, 10%, up to you. So I'm going to set it to 10%. Change the blend mode of this color layer to, guess what? Color, as the name goes. And then you can take a sample of an area of the color that you want in this place. So if you want this color, just take a sample of that by holding the Alt key or the Option key. Click to take a sample, and then you can just paint on that area to remove that red. Similarly here, you can easily fix that red, no issues. So you can take your time to do it, and that's how to do high-end retouching very, very easily. Now, I have to tell you, there are many automatic retouching applications, including Retouch for Me, and they wouldn't be able to go this precise because they don't know what you exactly want. They will retouch your skin perfectly. However, if there is a specific thing you want to do in the skin, it won't be able to do because it doesn't know what you exactly want. You are the artist here. So let me share with you an example just to make it clear. Here is a dodging and burning I did. You can also do it on a gray layer. It's the same thing. Now, I wanted to share with you the before and after of this skin. Before and after actually of dodging and burning. Here is the before and here is the after. Now you would notice that what I have also done besides making the skin even is that I have also shaped the nose this way because I wanted it that way. So you as an artist get to decide how you want certain things. If you're editing a lot of photos, yes, I recommend using an automatic plugin, which we will cover later. But if you absolutely want to sculpt every little detail, you will have to do it manually. Unless, of course, there's an update where you can just type in a prompt. But up until then, we have to just manually brush it in. If I were to show you this layer, see how many grooves I have made here just to make that happen. So here's the before. Look at the nose. Here's the after. All right. So the easiest way to dodge and burn is to just simply create a blank layer, paint with white or black, with flow at 1%, and change the opacity, change the blend mode to soft light. That's all there is to it. And with that, we finish our second hack. Now, since we were talking about remove and the advantages of remove, why not just also take advantage of it in frequency separation? So let me share with you a frequency separation technique, which is pretty new. Here in this case, I've already removed the blemishes. Now, removing blemishes is such a brunt work, so I usually do it automatically. And in this case, I've done it with Retouch for Me plugins. And all you have now, if you were to get just 2 Retouch for Me plugins, I would recommend get the Retouch for Me Heal and get the Dodge and Burn. That's if you're just getting the basic, those are the ones that I recommend. Either way, removing blemishes does take a lot of time, so you can just select the background layer, make a copy of that by pressing Ctrl or Command J, and then go to Filter, Retouch for Me, Heal. It automatically detects all your blemishes and it works super fast. Have a look at it. It is real time. So when you watch it on YouTube, you know that I'm not using the editing magic. All right. So it also has a sensitivity slider that helps you decide how many blemishes you want to detect and remove. I usually keep it all the way to 100. I also like to make mask by checking on this button and apply. That way, it's just like Photoshop where only the area where you have removed blemishes are shown in that particular layer. As you can see, only those areas. So before, as you can see, all those little blemishes, and after, all of them gone. Now we are ready for frequency separation. If you have learned frequency separation before, you know that it's just separating the skin into high frequency and low frequency. High frequency has the texture, low frequency has the color. Your goal is to work on them separately so that you maintain the texture in the high frequency while you even out the skin tones in the low frequency or the color and the tone layer. One easy way to do that right now is this. First of all, let us create the frequency separation to separate layers. And for that, I will use an action. Let's play this Piximperfect frequency separation action. I'm sorry about this. Okay, so I'm going to stick it right. So after we remove the blemishes, we can do frequency separation using an action. We can separate it into high frequency and low frequency. So you will have the action available to download. This is the link. Maybe we'll post it later. It's simply bit.ly/pixfs action if you don't already have it. And then let's just load the action, and then you figure out whether your image is 8-bit or 16-bit. Right now at the top you can clearly see it is 8-bit. So we can select FS 8-bit, play it. Now it will automatically bring the Gaussian blur dialog box. You have to zoom in and decrease the radius. Slowly and gradually increase it and stop at just the point where all the texture begins to go away. So there are still bumps at this 3.8 pixels. If we gradually increase it, there are still there. So at about, I think, 8, most of them go away. Hit OK. Now, as you can see, the image has been divided into two, low frequency layer and high frequency layer. If you look at just the low frequency layer, it has the color and the tone and doesn't have any details. If you look at the high frequency layer, it only has the details. And both of them come together. If we were to turn off this group, see, it's the same image. If I were to turn this on, it's the exact same image. Now, our goal right now is to keep the high frequency just the way it is, unless you want to work on some specific wrinkles and stuff. And with the low frequency, even out the skin. Earlier, we would have to use all kinds of methods where we would take the brush, take a sample, paint with lower flow, make it too complicated. But right now, I'm not saying those are some things that you cannot use now, but there are techniques that make it easier. You can turn off the high frequency layer, and here's what you do. Just above the low frequency layer, create a brand new layer. Then take the remove tool. For faster work, in the mode section, you can turn off Generative AI. And let's say you wanted to remove this eye bag. I have kept the high frequency off just so that we can see what is happening, right? All you have to do is to just loop around it. That's it. It's gone. It was that simple. Now, similarly, I'm going to just paint some areas here as well. Just loop around it. So, gone. Loop around this area, gone. And you will see the magic now. Wait for it. Loop around this area, gone. And we are fixing areas so easily, right? And I'm going to do this area as well. Similarly, you can do the nose area as well. Wait for it. There will be magic. Similarly, this area as well. You're just looping around stuff. And like this as well. Now, once you're done doing that, you turn on high frequency and have a look. Let me share with you the before and after. The texture is still there. Here's the before. You see all those ups and downs all over the place? Before, after, just by looping around. It was that simple. Before, after, before, after. And you can continue this process easily. It will not even take you 5 minutes. Trust me on that. So this is like really, really easy way to do this. So let me just share with you if I have a finished example. Yeah, I did not take a lot of time here, but I just wanted to share with you before, after, before, after. Just looping around with the remove tool. That's all. Let me close this. All right, just so that you have this action, bit.ly pixfs action. Alrighty, let's move on to the next one. Before we move on to the next one, do we have any questions?
Some people are asking about the name of the tool.
The simple remove tool is what we used in frequency separation. All we did just between that particular layer, we turned off the high frequency, and then with the help of the remove tool, we simply looped around. That's all we did. And that allows us to easily just turn back on the high frequency, fix that area, see? I hope that clears the confusion.
All right, and there's one more question. Is it better to use mixer brush or just brush?
So mixer brush used to be a technique that was taught before, and even I taught it maybe 6 years ago in a video. I'm not saying those are bad techniques and you should stop using them. There was a technique using Gaussian blur, there was a technique using mixer brush, there was a technique using just a regular brush with lower flow, and I have videos on all of them. However, here's what I recommend. You give this technique a try. See what works best for you. But one thing is for certain, you may have more control with the mixer brush, but it will take you way more time, and sometimes it can make things very soft. But it totally depends upon you. I highly recommend that you experiment and figure out what's best for you. This new feature just makes it so much more quicker and easier. I hope that answers the question. All right. Now, many a times you don't often have the time to edit all your photos, or you just want a quick retouch and maybe you want to do some compositing, or maybe you want to create some special effects or create a poster. You don't really have the time. I often create a lot of work that requires quick retouching. And if you want the absolute high quality for that, you can use plugins for it. And for as long as Retouch for me has been, I have been using those plugins and it makes it so much more easier. So let me share with you an example. And after that, I'm going to share with you how to make it just one button. So first of all, let's say you start with blemishes. That's what I recommend. Step one, start with removing blemishes. For that, by the way, you can install Retouch for Me plugins and try them absolutely for free, just so that you won't be able to save them. But if you want to try them, you can try it absolutely for free. And during the session or maybe after, they will leave a link to the trial version so you can just try those. Either way, with the background layer selected, press Ctrl or Command J. And then let's go to Filter, Retouch for me, Heal. And the thing that I love about Retouch for me is that you have plugins for every single thing and it works integrated with Photoshop in a way that is non-destructive. So if you wanted to improve upon it, you can do it. Now, just with this, just super quickly, it has been retouched in a way where all of the blemishes are gone. And you can control how many blemishes go away by using this slider right there. So I'm going to keep it all the way to the right hand side just to make sure that everything is detected and gone. If it leaves out certain areas, in this case, it hasn't. But in your case, if it does, you can just make sure you select Make Mask and hit Apply. And it will create a separate layer just for the blemishes removed, just for that particular area. And then you can take something like the Remove tool and remove something that it hasn't removed. Let's say, in this case, there isn't anything, but let's say there's this spot, and you just paint over that and it's just on the same particular layer. After we have done that, I recommend naming the layers so that you know what each layer does. So I'm just going to name it blemishes. And on top of that, we are going to create something called a stamp visible layer. A stamp visible layer is simply a merged layer of everything you see on the canvas right now. So we would press Ctrl, Alt, Shift, and E. This creates a merged layer of everything you see on the canvas right now. Again, I'm going to repeat that for you. Control, Alt, Shift, and E. On a Mac, it's Command, Option, Shift, and E. And then you can use the next filter. Filter, Retouch for me, Dodge, Burn. And this is for high-end dodging and burning, and it does that automatically. So let's give it a little bit of time. It should open the plugin. There you go. And it's done. All done that quickly. And you can decide how much dodging and burning you want to do here by using this blend slider. Less, you can have even more. So I want to have somewhere around 142, and you can also pick how much warmer you want that area to be. So let's set it to about 12 for this one, and you can check soft light layer and apply. This is just the gray layer dodging and burning that I just showed a few examples ago, and this is so good. And then you can change the blend mode from normal to soft light, just as we did before. Soft light. That's it. It's done. I mean, for the most part, unless you're just minutely changing the shape of the nose or doing something very intricate, this does a pretty amazing job. And just with these two, and let's name it D and B, just with these two, here is the overall before, and here is the after. Again, after. It's all done. And now here's a better example. You don't even have to do this one by one. I have created an action that automatically plays all the Retouch for Me plugins for you one by one based on the settings that I recommend. So all you have to do is to download the action, and I'll leave a link to the action here. You can just go to pix.live/auto retouch, and this will allow you to download the action. But you do need to have Retouch for Me plugins for these actions to play. And there's a video about it called Batch Retouch 1000 Photos, something like that. Search for it, you will find it. It also has this action. So with this action, all I have to do for my particular workflow is that I can just go to actions by going to Window, Actions, if I don't already have that open. Inside of that, let me move this here. I have Pix Auto Retouch Actions. Now, there are many actions that I have created for it. Play most of the Retouch for Me plugins. Some actions play Retouch for Me plugins and also sharpen the photo. Some also play the Retouch for Me backdrop removal. Those are some plugins as well. For this one, I'm just going to play the basic action. Click on the basic and play it. And one by one, it starts playing Retouch for Me Heal, Retouch for Me Dodge and Burn, Retouch for Me Portrait Volume. I think it also does one for the eyes, increases the eyes contrast, and then also fixes the skin tones. So there are plugins for each and every one of those. So let's give it a bit of time. As you can see, it's automatically doing the blemishes. It's automatically doing the dodging and burning. It automatically added the depth to the portrait, cleaned up the eyes as well. Everything is happening automatically. And then you can create a batch process out of this. And in the video, I show you how to do that, where you can drag and drop an entire folder of maybe 1,000 photos, and Photoshop automatically starts opening those photos and keeps on editing them for you. Then probably you can take a nap when you wake up in the morning, you have all of those photos retouched. And let's see what it does. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was working on the beta version of Photoshop. I shouldn't. That's my fault, really. So let's open this one. And I'm going to play the same action here as well. All I have to do is to open up the fast actions that I just had, auto retouch actions, the basic ones, and just play it. Yes, now it seems like it is working how it should. So the thing with Photoshop beta is that it's quite unstable. Let me see. Oh, it has processed, has it? Yes, I think the beta has done. For some reason it was stuck. Either way, it's done. It's also processing in the regular version of Photoshop. So let me share with you. Here's the before. Here's the after. All I had to do was press a button. That's it. And if you want to edit any part of it, for example, you want to do a little more dodge and burn, you can just make a duplicate of that. So done. Similarly, I think this one is done as well. See, this one did it fast. For the beta version, there was some error and got stuck. I recommend for main projects, please stick to the regular version of Photoshop. So let's say you wanted to do a little more dodge and burn than 100%, you can duplicate it. If you want less dodge and burn, you can just reduce the opacity. In this case, I want more. So I'm just going to press Ctrl or Command J and maybe decrease the opacity of that one to 50%. And then maybe you wanted less depth or more depth, you can control that as well. And with just doing this, here's the overall before, here's the after. All I had to do was press a button. It even took care of the eyes. Here's the before, the red veins, and it's dark. Here's the after. It's brighter, it's clearer. I hope that helps. All right. And if you want to check out Retouch for me, there will be links to checking it out. Now let's move to the next one. All right. Now earlier for skin tones, I had recommended that you would use something like color palettes, complex curves, but those can be easily fixed just by using the hue saturation adjustment layer. So let me close all of this and let me share with you the next hack, and that is knowing the hue saturation adjustment layer. It's a key to a lot of fixes, especially when it comes to the skin tones. Let's take a look at this example, and I just hope I'm in the regular version of Photoshop. Now in here, parts of her skin is slightly greenish, as you can see. Now earlier I would have recommended you to use a curves adjustment layer and just target that, use a color palette to kind of match it. But right now, as I experimented more and more, I realized that hue saturation does so much better right here. All you have to do is to click on the adjustment layer icon and then choose hue saturation. Inside of that, you just select the hand. By the way, wanted to quickly check, am I audible? Is everything happening? Right? Yes, okay, great. Now, with the hand selected, just click on one of those green areas or areas where the skin tone isn't right. So I'm going to click on this area. And then just take the hue and saturation all the way to the right just to see which areas are being targeted. Quick tip, if you want to precisely select an area, just make the hue saturation properties a bit wider. This will give you a little more control over this. Now we are going to make it like really thin. So let me quickly make it thin. Similarly here. Oops, there's actually a glitch there. And then move it around and stop at just the point where all those green areas are selected. So I'm gonna stop right about there at this point, and then you can expand it from here. So maybe expand it here and expand the other side. Other side is fine, I guess. Right. Now, double click on the sliders of saturation and hue. Just you have to play with the hue to fix it. See, if I take it to the left, oh my gosh, this is fixed. So let's take it a little more to the left. And you can also play with the saturation more or less, but this is fine. There you go. Now, there are certain areas which it might not get right, so you can just play with this, move it a little bit to the left and right, just to make sure how everything is selected or not. And this looks pretty amazing. Now, Zoom might be compressing things here and there, so don't listen to Zoom. Trust me, this is looking good. And there you go. I'm going to just keep it this way. But just to share with you, here's the before. As you can see, all the green there, right? Here's the after. It's all fixed. I feel the saturation is too much, so I'm just going to decrease it back to 0. And this works fine. Before, see all the green there? And after. And again, if you think it is too much, I recommend that you decrease the opacity to something like 60%. Again, before, after. Just a little fix, so darn easy to do. And you can use this across multiple examples. And I actually had prepared so much, but I don't think I have a lot of time, so I'm just going to share with you another example. Here as well, the same issue all over the place. You can simply create a hue saturation adjustment layer. With the help of the hand, click on one of those areas, and then take the hue and saturation all the way to the right. It has already selected most of the areas that we want to target. And then you can make it narrow. Actually, for this one, it's pretty clear. All these areas that we want to select. There you go. It's actually most of these areas. And then double click on hue, double click on saturation. Just take it to the left or right to see what is fixing it. Maybe to the left. And then we take care of the saturation. And just with this, it's fixed. There you go. Before, see all the green and the yellows? After. Just by doing that. And then you can add one more for the entire skin tone if you wanted to improve that. Up to you. So that is knowing hue saturation just is a key to fixing a lot of things related to skin tones. So now let's move into Flux. Now, from what I have figured, if you are doing some edits in your photos, like removing glare from glasses or removing some complex things, Flux sometimes, and maybe oftentimes, does a better job than Nano Banana. So with that, I'm going to open up this photo inside of Photoshop Beta. And this is an easy one, so I'm going to close all the others just to make sure that everything else is clean. And let's say you wanted to remove the glare from glasses. So I recommend using the rectangular marquee tool, and there's a reason why. The generations are square anyway, and the highest resolution will be in a square for now. So if you can do a square and have the entire face in it mostly, it does a good job. Sometimes when you select just this little area, it moves the generation a little bit too much. It sometimes tries to create a face inside the generation. So try to have a generation which is a square, and as you hold this, as you're dragging the rectangular marquee tool, you can hold the shift key to make sure that it is a square. And once you have dragged it, you can obviously move it to the location where you want. So in this case, I'm going to leave it right there. This is Photoshop Beta, the latest version. Click on Generative Fill, and here in the model selection, let's click one time. And for this one, we will choose Flux Context Pro. Now, do know that it is not perfect the first time. It sometimes takes a few tries. So all you have to type in is remove reflections from the glasses. I hope it does it. Let's give it a bit of time. You can also try remove all reflections from the glasses if it doesn't work. And there are many that you can try, but let's hope that this works. And actually, it did work the first time I was trying to do it before the webinar. Oh my gosh, it did work pretty good. See, before, after, before, after. I do recommend doing a few tries here just so that you get a better result. Now, after it has done that, I again recommend that it may have some edges. So here's the before, here's the after. In this case, there isn't much, but you can clearly see that there's an edge before after. The generation is slightly of a different color, but not job. This has actually done a pretty good job. You cannot even figure out where the edge is. So maybe the edge is here. So probably you can see, maybe not, before. See the edge there? After of the generation. So you can do a soft selection, or I recommend always generating it on a square and fixing it with a mask later. Just select the mask and delete that mask. Hold the Alt key or the Option key and click on the mask button to create a negative mask. Then you can take the brush, take a soft round brush with white as the foreground color, only paint over areas where you need it so that you're not destroying other areas. This is so darn cool. This is unbelievable. So I wanted to share with you another generation that I did, and I did it a few times before, and this is what I used: remove reflections from the glasses. I think it's the same, and this was the result on my first try. Actually, it also worked live, which is pretty good. Let's move on to another example. Now, sometimes it may even just remove the glasses. So let's see for this one. And I have a solution on what to do then, but let's see. Let's start dragging, hold the shift key, and we're gonna do something like this. If your selection is around 1,000 pixels by 1,000 pixels, the better, because that's the resolution limit for these right now. So let us select this particular area, maybe a bit more, maybe something like this. Okay, and let's try generative fill again. Flux, remove reflections from the glasses, and just wait for the magic to happen and hope and pray with fingers crossed that it works. Now imagine how impossible this was before. And if the reflection was pretty flat and plain, that's easy. We can always use curves, and we have talked about dodging and burning. And in fact, I've created, I think, a 30-minute video and even more than on how to do that. But right now, you can just have a look at it. This is insane. This is really insane. And it kept the glasses before, after, before, after. I have no words. I don't know what to say. Now, sometimes it will remove the glasses, and that is why I have this example for you. So in this example, when I tried it, it did remove the glasses. Let me just show this. Actually, let me just keep it the way it was so that you see what's happening. In this example, first it removed the glasses, which is pretty accurate though. And then it did this, then it removed the glasses, and then it didn't. And then I had to select between the ones that I liked. Here's one generation, here's another, here's another. I think I like this one. And then what I did, just to make sure that other areas are not affected, just as we did in the previous example, you can just directly delete this mask, or you can select that layer and create a group, Control or Command G, and hold the Alt key or the Option key, click on the mask button to create a negative mask for that group. That way you already have that mask, you're not distracting anything. You take the brush, it's the same thing by the way, it just saves the step of deleting a mask and whatnot. And then you paint only the area that you want to fix. There you go. This is so good, I cannot explain it. All right, before we move on to the next AI magic, any questions?
There were a couple of questions regarding the credits and how it consumed.
So right now, even Adobe seems to be figuring this out, but what's happening right now is that it's under a promotional period at the moment. So right now in Photoshop Beta, if you have the Creative Cloud Pro plan, which is the all apps plan, meaning you have all the applications like Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere Pro, the all apps plan, in that case, you are free to use it until October 28, absolutely for free. It will not deduct any credits. After that, it will. How much, we don't know yet, but there will be certain amount of credits already given to your account every month. Now, you still have limits. If you are a Creative Cloud Pro user, you still have limits, which is 500 generations per day. So keep that in mind. And of course, 500 is a substantial amount. Now, if you are a single app owner, which means that you own just Photoshop or just Lightroom, or maybe you're on the photography plan, then you have 100 generations total until October 28th. This is the information I have right now. It may change. So after 100 generations, it will just say that your generations have run out and you won't be able to do anything for now. After 28, I'm sure Adobe will come up with some plans and some part of it will be included in your plan. I don't know yet what that's going to be. I hope that clarifies that. All right, any other questions?
There is one interesting question. Do you prefer this method that you just shared of reflection removal or the one in the camera raw filter?
Great question. The one in the camera raw filter does not remove reflections from glasses. It will remove reflections on the entire image. So let's say you have an image that you took from a car window or the hotel window, and you have the glass reflection that is ruining your photo. In that case, I do recommend reflection removal in the camera raw because it doesn't have a resolution limitation and it doesn't use credits. It's working locally for you and it works great in many cases. But with this, it has a resolution limitation and it will ruin the resolution of your entire image if it's, let's say, by 10,000 pixels, but it's generating 1,000 by 1,000. So there's going to be the resolution loss. But it does not remove the camera raw reflection removal, does not remove reflections from these things like glasses. I can actually show you. If I were to go to filter, camera raw filter, and right here, if we go to the remove section and reflections and apply, it does not do that because it's meant for removing reflections of the entire thing. Let's give it a bit of time. And as you can see, it does not do anything, right? So this is meant for removing reflection from the entire photo. Let's say you took it through a window and there are reflections. It is for that. Now, this is a great example. Now, I used Nano Banana to change the outfit, but let's talk about a little more practical example. By the way, just to share with you what outfits you can change, this will be super fun. You can change the outfit to anything you want. You can add earrings. You can just have loads of fun with this. What's interesting though, in terms of retouching, is that let's say you want to fix the teeth and you want to make some changes here. You want to whiten the teeth, and there's also a retouch for me plugin for that. But apart from whitening the teeth, you also want to just equalize the teeth, if that's a word, or you want to do some kind of editing, maybe push it in, pull it out, and just fix it overall. And for that, you can actually use Flux as well. Again, I have made a square with the rectangular marquee tool, and you can just type in, make sure you have Flux selected, fix the teeth. That's it. Now, this is such a small area. This is by 1000 pixels, even smaller than that. So that's not going to be an issue for you. And for some reason, Flux is fairly fast today and it didn't do anything, did it? No. So let's try one more time. So sometimes stuff like that can happen. Let's wait for it. In case it doesn't work, I already have results from my previous tries. And there you go. It fixed it, but this is weird. So I have done a few tries and this one was the best. Let me just share with you a few examples. So this was the first one. This looked like Colgate. We cannot use this. This is way too perfect. All right, let me delete everything else so that it's easier for you to notice. This was the first one. This was the second one. Again, this is like Colgate. If you want to use it for a toothpaste ad, you can do it. And this was the second one. This was the most natural that looked nicer to me. But the only problem was this is not aligned. Have a look at the edge. The edges are not aligned. So what do we do to fix it? Well, you can use the difference blend mode. Change the blend mode from normal to difference. This will show which areas are not aligned. We can take care of these areas, that's not a big deal. But as you can see around the nose, it's not quite aligned. So I'm going to press Control or Command T, use the down arrow key and the up arrow keys to kind of match everything. Of course, the teeth is not aligned because it's a brand new teeth. Right now it is aligned. If it's black, it's aligned. Hit enter or return. Now change the blend mode back to normal. And then we'll do the same thing we did before. You can just delete the mask. I am sorry. Drag the mask, drop it to the trash can. Hold the Alt key or the Option key. Click on the mask button to create a negative mask. Let me make this bigger. Take the brush with white as the foreground color. Just paint over here with a soft round brush. And that's how easy it is to do. And let me just share with you. Here's the before. See the teeth? Here's the after. No issue. Earlier we had to bring in the new teeth, composite it, try to match it. This is just on another level. It pushed in that one. We didn't have to worry about a single thing and it's done. It sounds happy and sad at the same time, but it is what it is. I'm sorry. Alexa turned on. Alexa, off. It's fine now. Any questions so far before we move on to the next one and maybe the bonus one?
Well, there was one question regarding selecting the area. So people are curious, why are we choosing the rectangles? Why don't we choose the area?
Good question. Let me just share with you why. All right. If I were to use something like the lasso tool, okay, or if I were to use something like the selection tool, selection brush tool, people like to use that a lot as well. Right, let me just make it smaller. Okay, if I were to make a selection like this or lasso, it's the same thing, right? Make a selection like this. I'm going to type in fix the teeth. We are going to use Flux and click on generate. Now watch what happens. And this is essential. All this has to do with the breathing room and the flexibility for you to match. That's all there is to it. And whenever you make a selection, here is what happened. First of all, it didn't fix the teeth. So we're going to try one more time. But you'll see something very interesting in the layer if you just zoom in right there. Let's give it a bit of time. I hope this works for the second time. Maybe second time's the charm. It didn't do anything. Shucks. But I get this. So here, all right, what if I type change the teeth? Just to share with you a generation, right? So again, you can use this as one of the clues that maybe you should have gone with a rectangle with more context. All right, whatever the generation is. I know this is not a good generation, but say that this is your generation, right? Here is the generation, just the generation. If I turn off the mask, you would notice the actual generation is a rectangle, right? So if the generation is already a rectangle, why are we already creating something like this? Second point is, had we already selected a square, which is right now, this is a rectangle, right? The highest resolution that they generate right now is 1000 by 1000 pixels, which is a square, right? We are losing out on this detail right there. We could have generated that detail so that we have more breathing room when blending it. So whenever you're generating something with Flux or Gemini or Nano Banana, sometimes the generations move a little bit. So you have to use some kind of blending to match it. The reason why we are doing with rectangles, because original generations are already rectangles, first. Second, we want to have the flexibility to use the brush and the mask to blend it better. Third, we have more breathing room to work with. And fourth, you have a higher resolution because you're not limiting it into a rectangle. You're using a square, which is the highest in there. I hope that answers the question. All right, do we have any more? We have the last bonus tip before we, and actually we covered already 7 hacks, but we'll move to the last AI one. So any more last questions?
Maybe we can move on for now.
All right, for the last one, and this is something that you are going to use from time to time, and this will save you real time. Let's take a look at this example, and I'm going to delete all these layers so that, now in this case, the camera moved and the image shook. I could have used some Photoshop techniques like Smart Sharpen, and I have done videos about it, and it does try to recover this. Here is the before, here's the after, but it looks fake because it is fake. It somehow tries to add fake contrast around the edges to match it. Here's the before, here's the after. It looks sharp, but it's fake. Right now, what you can do is that you can just select, for example, this area is where you need sharpness. You can just select that area, and Gemini works great in images like this. Select this area, I already had one, and then type in this particular prompt that I recommend. Restore and sharpen this blurry photo and add details. Or you can also type sharpen this blurry photo and add details. So you want to make sure that you paste this prompt, and sorry about that. I'm just going to type in sharpen this blurry photo and add details. And you can choose Nano Banana for this one and click on generate. Let's see how much time this takes. Meanwhile, I will go through some comments. There you go. Sharpen this blurry photo and add details. It's good for everyone to copy paste. Has it done it? Yes, it has done it. And it has actually done a shallow depth of field effect. As you can see, the nose is sharp, the teeth is a bit blurred. This eye is a bit sharp. But let's have a look. Here's the after. It has also moved the image a bit. And that is why I recommend you go with square so that you have more leeway to play. If you had gone with just that specific area, you don't have any leeway to blend. So I'm just going to generate one more time just so that we have a little more context. Sharpen this blurry photo and add details. That's it. Oh, this is better. Look at the eyes. Now here's what you do. You change the blend mode from normal to difference. And see, this is misaligned and we align it. How did we align it again? We changed the blend mode to difference so that we can see the misalignment. And then with the help of the arrow keys or the move tool, you align it properly, the best you can. Hit enter or return, change the blend mode back to normal. And then this is the advantage we get. I'm sorry. Let's delete the mask, create a negative mask, take the brush, and with white as the foreground color, you paint back in those essential areas. There you go. And just getting the details back, it's crazy. So here's the before, see all those blurred areas. Here's the after. It moved, but oh my gosh, you have all the details back. See, I also did another example. I will show you the finished result as well, actually. So this was the actual image. On YouTube, I have a better result for this. But the background was sharp. This was blurred. So you can select just that little area and generate insane details. It has moved the eye slightly, but if you generate one more time and a few more times, trust me, it will generate a version which is exactly in the same place. And with time, this keeps on improving more and more. And even if you look at areas like this, before, see all this area blurred? After. Insane. I'm going to just zoom into the nose just to share. Before, see the blurred area and the texture? After. Crazy difference. And with that, we have 7 hacks plus a bonus one just to share with you what is possible with these brand new features in Photoshop. Thank you so much for coming in. And again, I'm here to take a few questions. And Dinara, please take this forward however you want to take it forward.
That was one question regarding food photography. If you
Okay.
can recommend any AI tool that works great for food photography and retouching food, that would be great.
Depends upon what you want to do with the photos. So there's not one AI tool that I can recommend. First of all, start with Photoshop and think about what you want to do with the photo. If there are certain items that you want to replace, if there are logos and certain icons that you want to place on it, what do you want to do? And then reverse engineer through that. For right now, let's say you want to fix a particular area, you can try Flux and Gemini that are there in Photoshop. If you want to remove dust, there are many plugins you can use. I think Retouch for me also has a plugin for that. So depending upon what you want to do in your food photography, you pick your tools.
Does Flux AI help with removing stains or splatter that damage the photo? I have several photos that I'm restoring for a client, and sometimes the AI can find and remove the yellow dots that are the damage, and sometimes it can't because the dots are across the entire image.
Yes, it can. And I do recommend that you try both Gemini. Along with that, you try Flux. And the way you do that is you select the entire image, and there is a prompt that I recommend, and I say, restore. If it's an old photo, I simply say, restore this photo to look as if it was taken today with a high-end modern digital camera. Actually, in my latest YouTube video about 50 plus use cases of Nano Banana, there is a retouching section that I highly recommend that you watch. And I also share the exact prompts that I use in that particular area, in that particular example, and also the methods of how to do it. Again, select the entire image, type that prompt that I recommend, and it should work. And for the areas that it doesn't, you can always go inside of Photoshop and then use the remove tool to fix those areas. And then you can upscale it using a lot of upscalers available online. There's Magnific, there's Upscale with a Y. We have talked about it in the channel as well. There's Topaz Gigapixel. There are many. So that is that.
There is one question regarding batch files. How do you batch process your files? Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, when it comes to retouching, I batch process through droplets. So what you can do if you are using Retouch for Me plugins, or if you are using your retouching actions, so you create a specific action and then you create a droplet out of that action. Now, what is a droplet? A droplet is like an app that you are creating that runs through Photoshop. All I have to do is to drag and drop all of my photos to that droplet in your Finder or Explorer. It automatically opens Photoshop and edits all those photos one by one automatically. If you want to learn how to do that, there is a video on YouTube. Just search for 1,000+ photos batch processing Piximperfect. You'll probably get it.
Oh, there was one interesting regarding your preference. If you prefer the dodge and burn or frequency separation.
The answer is simple. Depending upon how high quality of a result you want versus how much time you have, you're always trading quality and time. So if you have more time and if you want a higher quality result, go with dodge and burn. If you have less time and you still want to get the best you can get, then use frequency separation. As simple as that.
One more question because I've seen it 10 times in the chat. How do you change hair color from black to white? Any tips on that?
So changing hair color from black to white is actually kind of impossible because if it is, let's say, white, it's easier to change it to yellow, blue, red, whatever with a multiply blend mode. But even then, it's not that easy. If you ask me today on how to do it, if you had actually asked me, let's say 5 years ago, here's what I would have told you. Just find a stock photo of a person with black hair that looks similar with a similar lighting. Just composite it, place it here. Actually, I also did a video about that. Just
All right.
select that area, place it there, use some compositing techniques to kind of match it. All right. If you had asked me this question maybe 2 years ago or 1 year ago, I would have told you select that area, use generative fill, and type in black hair or white hair. If you ask me today, I would recommend that you try Flux or Gemini.
Do you think it's possible that AI will replace retouchers?
I don't know what the future holds. That is absolutely for sure. But let's talk about AI in general, right? AI makes things possible that were not possible before. Just as you asked about changing the hair color, or even when I talked about changing any color from black to white, or recovering details that were impossible, removing impossible glare from glasses. These bring some exciting changes. If you're using it as a tool, that's fantastic. However, when it comes to retouching and retouching especially, or creating art for that matter, one thing that AI cannot give you ever is the joy of the process, the fun that you have while creating that artwork. And the second thing is the pixel precision. You can use all the retouch for me tools, all the automatic retouching, or anything that comes up in the future. But just as I shared with you in the nose example, if you want absolute control to just control every single pixel to shape the face exactly how you want it, you have to do it manually. Because what happens with retouching is that you type whatever changes you want to make, it makes some changes and more. Then you have to correct that. It makes some other changes and more. It will get better with time. But if you want to absolutely have the full control of how you want every area and every design and every style and element to be, you would have to do it manually. I hope that answers the question. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Alexi. Thank you, Dinara. Thank you to the entire Retouch for Me team. And thank you to everyone who made the time to come here today to attend and to join me in this session. I really appreciate you that you took the time, you learned something. I hope you learned something. Let me know in the comments. And as I always recommend, just take everything that you can, always experiment, see what new things that you can come up with, and do not forget to keep creating.